What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. Normally I would just list out every single piece of gear that I've ever used on the PCT and tell you what I liked and what I didn't like. And while I will make one of those videos, 5 things gear-wise really resonated with me and my thru hike. Without 4 of these things, my thru hike would have been a much more miserable experience. So I felt like this list is pretty applicable, and I feel like some of these things aren't normally what people think about, so I'm going to list them here today, and hopefully it's helpful going into your thru hike. Number 1, and the reason why it's number 1 is because it probably changed the game for me than anything else, and that was a mosquito suit. So mosquitoes are interesting on the Pacific Crest Trail because everyone's going to tell you different information. For me specifically, since I was a southbound hiker coming from the Canadian border, the snow melt and everything, how it timed out with the mosquito life cycle, we really got hit hard in like mid to southern Washington. So Jackie sent me a mosquito suit at Shelter Cove, and it was a godsend. I mainly used the pants the most. They really like to bite my legs, and when we got south of Goat Rocks Wilderness, the mosquitoes leveled up. I called them the D1 athletes of mosquitoes because these things were fast. You could hike at 3.5 miles an hour and they would keep up with you the entire time. You were basically just inhaling them. They were flying up your nose, into your ears, just essentially darting onto your body and just making impact and then sucking your blood right away. These things were on a new level. So once I got the mosquito suit, I didn't have to worry about running away in fear anymore, and I just wasn't itchy all the time and just somewhat just miserable, right? I still think to this day, the hardest thing to get through mentally on the Pacific Crest Trail will be very bad mosquitoes. They just ruin the entire day. So get a mosquito suit. It's extremely light. You won't even notice it in your pack, and I think I got it for like 24 bucks. I got more comments on my mosquito pants than I've ever gotten in my life for any other piece of attire that I've owned. So I feel like this one's kind of a strange, obvious thing, but people don't really know it exists either. So do yourself a favor and get a mosquito suit. You will not regret it. All right, number 2, a lightweight synthetic puffy. The reason why I'm recommending synthetic, and this was somewhat unique to my year I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, is just inclement weather. We hiked through a ton of rain, and even if that puffy got completely soaked, it kept me very warm. So if you have a puffy that's real down and it gets wet, it's pretty much useless. And that's fine. I'm not saying you can't use a down puffy, but just make sure you have something to make it completely waterproof. A few situations where I can tell you you're going to need your puffy is sitting around at camp at night, even in the desert. It gets really cold and it's not going to be enjoyable just to put on a light layer. It won't do enough for you. There were plenty of nights that I slept on the PCT where it got below freezing, and wearing my puffy at night helped me keep warm. You can put it over your head. It's just another insulating layer. We were hiking through Washington when a vicious cold snap came through from the Canadian border. We were hiking in 30-degree weather all day long for about a week and a half. So there's so many situations where you're going to need a puffy, and getting a good puffy, a good quality puffy that will keep you warm even if it's wet, could be the difference between being safe or not. When I came over Donahue Pass in the Sierra, I legitimately was going hypothermic and I was scared for my life. I wasn't prepared. We had no idea that the weather was rolling in. The forecast was just completely wrong. And if I didn't have that puffy on me to put on when things got really dicey, I don't think I would have been in a very good spot. I'm not going to tell you that I was going to die, but it would have been a very worse day than it already was. So I can't stress this enough. I know it seems obvious, but I highly recommend synthetic puffy. Number 3, waterproof socks. So these came in very handy, specifically when we were hiking through snow, because not only do they trap heat a little bit better than just like your average merino wool socks, but they will keep your feet completely bone dry. When we were hiking through snow and or doing river crossings or whatever, these socks actually work. Some really popular ones are sealskin, but I had some ones off Amazon that I'll be sure to link below. But this was super nice. I didn't have to worry about only having 2 pairs of socks and keeping one dry, and then they both get wet, and then you're kind of screwed and you're going to sleep with wet socks. That really sucks. So if you're planning on hiking through the Sierra, I would recommend bringing 1 pair of waterproof socks. They're really, really nice. The only disadvantage to them is they do smell like hell. They're not very efficient in the odor department, and that's just something you're gonna have to deal with. But I promise you, they're worth their weight in gold, and they're also really good for keeping your feet warm at night if you have cold feet like me. Number 4, I think this one is underrated, especially on the Pacific Crest Trail, but reliable rain gear. I ditched my poncho in the desert, which was fine. I think I only got rained on once there, but we had so much unexpected rain, and when you don't have good, reliable rain gear, it just makes for such a miserable time. I mean, hiking just sucks, and it's not fun to begin with, but I would recommend a poncho, because if you're relying on a pack cover, that's going to soak through if you're in the rain for long enough, and at least a poncho will keep your body heat trapped in. And I like to just throw it over my entire body, and it'll keep my pack completely dry as well. So something to note there, make sure you have reliable rain gear. A lot of people will tell you that the Pacific Crest Trail isn't known for rain, which is true, but you don't want to be caught with your pants down when a thunderstorm rolls through and you just get absolutely soaked and the temperatures drop. That's just a really dangerous place to be, so carry rain gear on you the entire time. It might be tempting to drop it for the extra weight, but I promise you, if you need it, you're gonna really wish you had it. Number 5, this is a piece of gear that I wish I brought with me, especially because they don't weigh that much, but I wish I brought some down booties. I have some really, really chilly feet, and I sleep kind of cold to begin with. So at night, when I would be sleeping in my tent, I had a duplex, my either feet or my head would touch. And sometimes when my feet touched, that down from my quilt would compress and my feet would get a little bit cold. It's really, really hard to sleep well with cold feet. So if you are a cold sleeper, specifically your feet, get yourself a pair of down booties. There will be a lot of cold nights on the PCT, and you won't regret getting them at all. I promise you. I wish I had them, but I would just always think to myself, like, it's fine, tough it out. But there was so many of those situations that came up reoccurring that I wish I had them. So pick yourself up a pair if this applies to you. And then lastly, just some random bonus items too that came to top of mind are, if you're not going to get a mosquito suit, get a bug net for your head. There's biting flies in Northern California and other places, and there's mosquitoes, and you just don't want them attacking your face when you're eating dinner or you're doing whatever or hiking. Just get a bug net. It weighs nothing. And then secondly, a little bonus tip too is make sure you have an absolute waterproof tent. You really don't want to risk it on not knowing if your seams are sealed or you have a material that's going to wet through. I saw people on the trail that this happened to, and trust me, they did not have a good time. So double check your tent, make sure it's sealed, and make sure that it's like completely waterproof, because once again, I know the PCT isn't known for rain, but that's what I thought, and if I went into it with that mindset, I would have gotten completely screwed because we got rained on a lot. All right, that's pretty much it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments below. I will answer every comment and every question, and I will make a gear video on everything that I ended up on the PCT with and what I liked about it and what I didn't. That'll come soon. So happy planning for your thru hikes, and I'll talk to you all then.